We get stuck at the income level of our parents.
Oh, you're super greedy. Oh, okay.
So it's not really whether you actually deserve it or not.
How can you become a cheapskate and then eventually be a millionaire?
Their parents earn, less than 100,000. That's kind of where they get stuck at.
If you don't have money, you could lose your family.
So were you afraid of wealth at first because of that?
I mean, it's more of a lifestyle choice, but I didn't want to borrow money. I felt like it was a smart thing to put cash into.
In most cases, you want to still be family with them.
I wonder what it's like living in the prison you built for your wife. When we put out a video that uses the word billionaire in it, man, people have venom.
How do we break the mental blocks that seem to be kind of passed down from our family? Okay, Garrett, one thing I've noticed in life is we kind of get stuck.
How does the AI notice things in life? I just think it's funny that people think you're AI Weston.
Yeah, you prompted me well. So I've noticed in life that we get stuck at the income level of our parents. So my friends who their parents earn, less than 100,000, that's kind of where they get stuck at. My father who was able to get to, 300,000 a year, I feel like that's kind of where it's hard for me to get past the mental blocks of getting past that. How do we break the mental blocks that seem to be kind of passed down from our family?
Look, I wasn't born with money. I didn't understand money. And even when I got into the money business, even when I got into the financial business, dealing with financial transactions, helping people with their money, I had a lot of blocks. And my partner, Les, really started to ask me questions that helped me to answer why I felt this way. And it came from, this family history of feeling like there wasn't enough to go around and being hard laborers that just put in hard work and they only got limited result. And they were worried that if they didn't hold on to what they had, that it could hurt them, that they could be separated from their family. Like my great grandfather, who wasn't earning enough to put food on the table, literally. Not what people say, oh, I am doing this to put food on the table. I told my wife that once, and she's like, I didn't ask for all this. You're working all the time. I want you.
Yeah.
Like, if we have to sell the house and live somewhere else, let's sell the house. It's like, oh, and it's like, that was a misaligned belief. I went from, holding on to everything I had to doing all I could to earn more. I went from a miser to a striver because of a mindset shift. And so we can have these mindset shifts. We aren't relegated to just what we learn early on. And then I started saying, what are my belief systems? How do I view money? Why is money important to me? What is money? What was my first memory of money? Like, I just started to ask these questions, and I even asked my wife these questions on a date, and it helped us to understand what security meant, but what freedom also meant to us, not what to everybody else would tell us it was.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's dive into that and get to where we can flip the script.
Let's do it. All right. So we got these money blocks, and this is especially tough for new money.
Okay.
First generation entrepreneurs, people that don't come from money, that families that don't talk about money, or when they do, it's not necessarily positive. I reference this book a lot, The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah.
Right? Because the entire thing is, how can you become a cheapskate and then eventually be a millionaire?
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, it's like these families don't even know that they have money because money is just something that they hoard. And this is kind of where my family came from. So let's talk about the Gunderson side. On the Gunderson side, we really had Norway as the Gundersons, and then they married someone from Ireland. And so you got to think about Ireland at that time is the potato famine.
Oh, geez.
I mean, so you're dealing with some true like hunger and like death. And, that's something that they remember. They have to escape to America to get away from it, Then we've got the Quinto side. And so they came over from Italy. It's my mom's side, and lived in this little place, San Giovanni in Fiore. And it's like, I went there and there was no restaurants that were still open. And there was like just things that looked pretty like beautiful setting, but dilapidated.
Yeah, man.
And so my great grandfather can't put food on the table. So comes to America, becomes a coal miner, but there's a mine disaster, becomes a goat herd, doesn't see his daughter till she's 7 years old. And so that's like folklore, right? Gets passed down for generations.
Yeah.
If you don't have money, you could lose your family. Got to hold on to what you got. I mean, plus, I've got coal miners. So in the coal mines, you have everything from like a mine disaster to a union strike. I hear stories. I mean, my parents shielded us from this, but where they lived off saltine crackers. and my grandparents were, feeding me because the mine went on strike, and they were pretty early on and didn't have a whole lot of cash. And so, so they were very frugal and did everything they could to provide for us in any way that they could and save in any way they could. But the way that I learned is when I was growing up, I just believed like money was scarce.
Yeah.
And I thought the best thing you could do was save it. And so I had this car detailing business, and I almost never spent that money. I just kept putting it in a savings account, seeing that savings account go up, and put more and more money in the savings account, and really had a hard time to part with it. Like I've told this story before, but I bought a bag of jerky on the side of the road for $7 because I was so hungry, and I regretted it for months. I judged myself for months because I'd seen this mountain chart. You've seen these mountain charts that are like, invest $1 in the Massachusetts Investor Trust Fund, first ever mutual fund created. 100 years later, it'll be worth $1,207.33. I'm like, man, I just cost myself $7,000, even though I'd be around for 100 years and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't even investing at the time.
And it doesn't account for inflation.
But my family was putting cash in coffee cans. They were these little Folgers cans, and they had cash just rolled up, and it was in the cellar. These kind of cellars that you could like pull open and you walk down the stairs.
Jeez.
And I saw that kind of stuff. And then my great aunt, she applied for welfare, but they found out she had $550,000 in her savings account. So she had the first dollar she ever earned. She was hoarding toilet paper before that was popular.
Wow.
And so it's really like a mindset. And so I once heard my grandma say, oh yeah, he's got a bunch of money. He's a bad guy.
Always.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, why is he a bad guy? Oh, he's super greedy. Oh, okay.
So were you afraid of wealth at first because of that?
I was afraid of the big city. And I was in a little rural town. I grew up in, a couple thousand people.
Yeah.
And then the big city was 12,000 people. And the bigger city was, it's like maybe 1 million now where I live. But I was kind of scared of that. I just, I thought money was something you held on to.
Yeah.
That, there's these money personas, right? And I write about these in Money Unmasked. And two of the personas play on this side, playing not to lose. So one is the miser, the other is the conservative. So the miser plays a game called preservation.
Yeah.
Right? And so in preservation, it's hold on to what you can, cut out all expenses that you can, save all you can, don't trust anything, just set it aside. But this is, my family was really on the miser side.
Yeah.
They weren't investing money. They had double E bonds. They had cash in coffee cans. The conservative, they're all about holding on, but they're going to be in more like a diversified portfolio.
Gotcha.
They're more likely to put it in a retirement
safe
plan.
Places, quote unquote safe places. Yeah.
They're going to be pretty, Dave Ramsey-esque.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that's the play not to lose. Now on the other side is the play to win. So you have the strivers. They play a game called status. And you have high rollers. They play a game called opportunity. And so these kind of play not to lose is more about the past, like holding on to what you got.
Yeah.
This is more about the future in play to win. And most people think play to win's great.
Yeah. That's what all the movies are about.
At the expense of today. There is no presence in it. It's all the future and play to win. It's all the past and play not to lose. It's like the conservative will delay happiness and gratification. It's all about one day, someday. The miser, it's just, hey man, nickels are worth more than 5 cents. You melt them down, right? Yeah. They'll just go without any legal protection because they'd rather just hold on to the cash.
Yeah.
The status of a striver is, they want to earn it. Mm-hmm. They want to earn that status. They want to earn that home, that car. High roller, they're cool renting it and making you think it's theirs. They're selling this big dream, this big vision, but they're up and down. They're likely to go bankrupt. So understanding the money persona is important, but also understand what are the stories that your family tells about money. And so in these stories, let's think first, what's your first memory of money?
Oh, okay.
I had someone here at the cabin. I was talking about his first memory. He's like, yeah, I remember. And it was like a really negative memory.
Yeah.
And he hadn't thought about it. But as we went through it, had another person here. We do these cash cabins, and it was all like going through the memory of like his family's doing well, and then they weren't doing well, and everybody at the school was doing well, and he didn't get new shoes, and he felt like an outcast. And so these first memories are really important. I could hear my parents arguing about paying the bills and me hiding under the table, and it's like, man, that really impacts your psyche. It kind of, these stories and these money blocks are stories that might feel like protection, but they eventually become prevention.
Oh, gotcha. So oftentimes we'll give them credit because it's like, oh, hey, I learned this about money. You always got to be careful with blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They think it's
my great aunt said, you'll never know when water is going to be $10. And, LAX, it was $10.
Yeah.
So it's all about, it's like, this fear-based thinking.
So you think it's protecting you, but in the end, it's preventing you.
Yeah, these guys are more on the fear side. These are more on the greed side.
Gotcha.
Okay. So just to get an idea there. But let's look at these levels of protection. There's these kind of layers to our story. There's the story that's very visible. It's what we sell and tell.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need a nice car. Well, if you're saying it, why are you saying that? Maybe it's because you feel like you don't deserve one. Maybe you feel like you can't afford one. And so you're kind of justifying it away. And so you say that so people don't judge you. But then there's the stories we tell ourselves, but we don't ever speak out loud.
Yeah.
Judgments, insecurities, fears. And then there's something that we can't even tell because it's kind of in the basement. It's the sludge that happened when we were a kid that we kind of tuck away, like paradoxically. I never want to feel this way again. I'm never going to go through this again. I'm never going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And then we don't really remember why anything that reminds us of us, we start behaving irrationally. We get money, we blow it. Right?
Yeah.
We get money, we give it away. We get money, we hold on to it.
Yeah.
And it comes from these stories. And these stories, they captivate us. They're the script that we write. And so part of the money persona is how do we flip the script? So how do you flip the script? Well, I really have a formula for it. If you're going to flip the script, you have to go from a losing persona, which is the miser, conservative, striver, and high roller, to a winning persona. So the flip is, number one, you got to co-create. You got to find someone that can support and inspire you, someone that is more abundant, someone that can give you accountability to get beyond that thinking. And in the co-creation, we say the things to the person that we've never said out loud, and they no longer hold us captive.
Oh, okay.
I made this investing mistake. I felt foolish.
Yeah.
Bought an NFT. Didn't work out. If I talk about it, it doesn't hold that guilt and shame.
So a key part is having a co-creator that's not going to guilt you.
Right, because often these stories are filled with guilt and shame.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so I could see that to where it's like if you mistakenly put like a family member or something as your co-creator, they are just going to reestablish the same fears, right? Versus if you get someone outside of that circle.
So we got to speak it.
Okay.
It's almost like a confession.
Yeah.
Right? So it can't hold that guilt and shame any longer.
So it doesn't have power over you.
It's not, it loses that power when we say it. So what we got to do is find, where's a safe space to be vulnerable? A lot of people don't want to be vulnerable because they don't want to be judged because they've been judging themselves.
Yeah.
They're afraid. If we have a safe space to share it, it no longer holds control. And if we share the things that we've only been telling ourselves, we open up the space for what's underneath. And look, underneath, I've done so many programs. The ontological program of Landmark, a program called Great Life. I've done, MDMA therapy. I think I've done 11 or 12 sessions in my life. And it helps me identify these belief systems. And these belief systems that sabotage but don't serve. And a lot of them are just hidden from past experiences. And those past experiences, because they went unaddressed and unassessed, and often when our brain isn't developed, we're too young.
Yeah.
And so it's hidden. And if we get to where that underneath is, all of a sudden the guilt and shame goes away and we start to know our value. We start to know our worth. A lot of people are worth a lot, but they give so much with nothing in return. And then they create entitlement for others. And then they're trying to be liked. They're trying to be nice. They're trying to be a good guy or a good girl. And then people take advantage of them. Yeah. Because the world has manipulators, because the world has people that are unsafe to be around. They have sociopaths. You have people that are, don't have your best interest in mind and that kind of stuff. And if we don't speak this out, or we don't have someone that is that safe space to talk about it, then we just hold on to it.
Yeah.
And so these money blocks are statements. I can't afford it is a statement.
Yeah.
I don't have the time is a statement. It's debilitating, it's defeating, and it's a declaration. And one of the simplest things that we could possibly do is pose it as a question instead of a statement.
Oh, okay.
What would it take?
So
how could I create that value?
Instead of like, I can't afford it, how could I afford it? Gotcha. Or I don't have the time.
Get the brain to work. Have other people help you. Like, I love being around inspiring people.
Yeah.
Now, some people, when they're around inspiring people, instead they feel jealous.
Yeah, they criticize.
They justify, right? And all those kind of things, because they go back to like the statement they heard from a family member. And maybe the belief is that money's bad, it's wrong, it's evil. They might not say it out loud, but they subconsciously believe that to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. So they sabotage that success so that they're not bad, wrong, or evil.
Yeah.
They think it's bad, but they want more of it somehow. And now they feel conflicted. And that is what I call a dilemma. A dilemma, you're damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. If you have a dilemma, then you have a faulty belief.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, are you totally safe if you earn a certain amount of money and a penny more, you're totally evil now? I mean, I guess we'll find out if Jeff Bezos goes Lex Luthor on us and turns his drones into, Terminators or something. He's got a bit of a head start. But there's so many people, I've seen it. When we put out a video that uses the word billionaire in it, man, people have venom.
Yep.
Like, that's wrong, that's bad, they've taken too much, because again, they go back to thinking there's only so much to go around, and if someone takes too big of a pie, there's not enough left for everybody else.
Yeah.
We saw this like Occupy Wall Street years ago.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's some of the 1% that do it through theft, that do it through coercion and deception. Mm-hmm. But the majority do it through massive value creation.
Yeah.
And if now we condemn them and judge them and we don't want to be them, we start to push wealth away. We start to push money away. We start to make it wrong or bad. And look, I get it. Like, money needs a better publicist, dude.
Yeah.
Like, think about money. Every documentary is dirty, filthy, stinking, right? It's like money needs to hire whoever's behind this Kale movement. Kale, K-A-L-E. The inedible decoration at the Pizza Hut salad bar when I was a kid. Uh-huh. Now it's a superfood that's in everything, but it literally tastes like the garden's anus. It's gross. You have to add sugar and salt to even make it edible.
Yeah.
And yet, money just has such negative connotation for so many people because it's confusing, or they don't feel like they have enough of it, or someone did something bad at one time, and then they just blanket that to everybody and everything. And so these are the money blocks. And money blocks are like blind spots. We don't see them until we have new information, until we have, until we look at really the principles. What's the principle? It's a value game.
Huh.
Money is where we store value. If I do something for you and you're like, hey, you don't need what I have to offer, I'll give you money so you can store that value and you can tap into someone else. See, I'm gonna go back to this income statement, which I've done in other videos. Most people are trained that you got to reduce your expenses in order to have more money.
Yeah.
But reducing expenses, like, anyone can build something cheaper or worse, and sometimes reducing expenses increases our time spent.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
And I try to think of time as, how do I invest it? How do I invest time? How do I buy time?
Yeah.
And so if I'm in the miserly mindset, I'm willing to give so much of my time to save money. Maybe when I was first married, I was a miser.
Yeah.
Right? And so I would spend hours finding out how we could reduce expense. But that's so finite.
Yeah.
Hey, why is the heating bill so high? Hey, why are we spending so much here? Why is it's all about budget, eliminate and cut. Then I had this transformation. The transformation came because I won this award when I was selling life insurance with MDRT, and I was so proud. And then I talked to this woman, Nancy, in the hallway, and she's like, I can't wait till you get to the next level. You're going to see people view money differently. I'm like, what do you mean they view money differently? She's like, well, they just do. Give me an example. She's like, well, let me ask you some questions. And in the questions that she asked me, I was talking about, when we have this money, we can move out an apartment. When we have this money, we can have a baby. When we save up this, and we're just going to, we're not going to spend here. We're not going to spend. It was all about reduction and elimination. And she goes, man, I wonder what it's like living in the prison you built for your wife.
Jeez.
This financial prison that I built because I thought the game of wealth was all about saving and scrimping. And there's a lot of people that believe that, and they give their energy just to save money.
Yeah.
They give their ability. They reduce their ability, doing everything on their own. And then they don't have energy left over. They don't have time left over to do the things that would be truly productive.
Yeah.
So, for example, I know people that would spend 10 hours to save $10 researching where's the cheapest way to get the product. And that transactional mindset is a problem. I think more relational. Could I collapse time instead of waiting for 10 years? Could I use money to figure this out in one?
And it doesn't have to be a lot of money.
No, just am I willing to invest in myself? By simply investing in myself, I say that I'm worth it. It's worth parting with my money to increase my value.
Yeah.
I want to increase my value, not only decrease expense. Now, some expenses are meant to be decreased because they're not worth it. You have to ask, is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I like to think about value-based spending.
Yeah.
Right? Value-based, is it valuable to me? So it's my first consideration is, do I value it? Is there a feeling of joy, satisfaction, fulfillment? Then I'm going to look at the economic cost. There's just certain things I might want, but it doesn't make economic sense at this point because I don't have the cash flow for it. So I have to increase my value to increase that cash flow to make it worth it. But then the last thing I look at is price. My co-author, Julia Cook, she wrote I Am Money, children's book, and with me. And it was, she just made my content readable to kids. She's brilliant. Yeah. She talked about her mom buying stuff on clearance that they didn't really need or want or use because it was cheap.
Or people buying in bulk at,
Right. And maybe going far out of their way just to save on gas.
Yeah.
But what was the time? What was the gas consumption to go save it? They know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. Yeah, that's a Jay-Z lyric.
My wife got me on that one yesterday. I was like, okay, well, we could drive 8 minutes over to Sam's Club and save 30 cents per gallon. And she's like, yeah, but it'd be $1 that we save. So is it worth the extra 8 minutes? I was like, okay, yeah.
Right. And what would you do with your time?
Yeah.
So I did this exercise. I said, all right, on a Saturday, I'm going to look at every way that I could save money on our entire budget, reduce our expenses. It was literally like a 10-hour thing. This was long ago. But then on Sunday, I was going to focus on that same amount of time to increase my production.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, I had a lot of fun with thoughts of increasing production.
Oh, yeah. Versus, okay.
Hey, what if I let financial advisors come shadow me and see what I was doing?
Versus the Saturday was more of a sludge.
And it was like, cool, I did reduce expenses. I got rid of our massage envy that we're paying for.
Yeah.
I saved us like $120 a month. Okay. This was $2,500 per advisor. And I could do this 2 times a month without changing anything in my life. And then all of a sudden, before we even had our first kid, I got this extra $5,000 per month, just letting people come in and see what I was doing so they could learn. And it was meetings I was always going to do.
Wow.
It was thinking increased production. This one was very finite.
Yeah.
My reduce. This is much more infinite.
Yeah. And it's like, how much time did it take you to save $120 a month?
But you have to get past that block of money's scarce. There's not enough. I got to hold on to what I've got. I don't know how much, it's like, I have to think about like what it cost my great grandfather having the wrong methodology and not having the right information and what that looked like and how that permeated through our entire family and how confusing that must be and how hard it was and how much energy it took. And break through to be about soul purpose and expansion and value creation, not just about conservation.
Yeah.
I want to be intelligent and be a steward with my money. That's why I believe in mindful cash management, right? I'm always looking at different types of expenses. If they're destructive, I want to get rid of them. I'm not using something. We just went through this. We switched banks and going through the switching of banks, we found there were some things.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're not using this. Let's get rid of it. So we saved some bucks, right?
Yeah.
Our lifestyle, we just want to make sure that we pay cash for it. Just last year, we're going to take a trip to London. I had booked lay down seats with our global certificates. I was excited, but then I started looking at like, hey, we're in a new phase of our business. This is going to be time that I'm out without having the full infrastructure. We're just bringing the team on, and I hired 2 amazing sales guys the next month, and I did 2 immersions during that time. And I just said, it's not good to do this because yes, we have the cash for it, but it's going to be a strain. So we just said no to the trip because the trip was like borderline between lifestyle and destructive.
Gotcha.
Then protective expenses. When I don't invest in protective expenses, when I don't I once sold a company. I didn't have an attorney review the contract. That's crazy. I saved money, but it cost me more by not having the right contract, right? I want to address those, but I'm always looking at what are the right productive expenses, like the right team members, the team that we're building right now for this social media. I mean, it's an all-star team.
Yeah.
We have so much fun together. Those are productive expenses. So it's more about expansion than reduction. It's being intelligent with reduction, getting rid of destructive, paying cash for the lifestyle. You know, we put off doing our yard until I felt like it was a smart thing to put cash into. It means more of a lifestyle choice, but I didn't want to borrow money to do it, for one. And then, you know, the productive is the game changer. But we have to get past the money blocks that say, I'm not enough. There's not enough money. I can't do it. I can't afford it. Like this is the ultimate excuse. I can't afford it. I've heard people say they can't afford things, and I look at their finances. They have millions of dollars. I have someone right now that if they sold their home, they'd have millions of dollars, but they have no cash flow and they don't want to sell their home. And I'm like, hey, that home is destructive right now.
Yeah, it's not helping.
Because it's costing you so much in tax and maintenance, and it's robbing your business. And you could use the cash and you go rent a home. You could go rent a place. You could move to a different state, you know, and all of a sudden you've got plenty of cash to do everything that you need, but you're holding on to this because of some money belief that your identity, this is the other thing. People put their identity sometimes in their bank account, sometimes in their net worth, and sometimes in their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of had put too much of my identity in my old business, and then that was unhealthy.
Yeah.
If someone was happy, I felt great. If someone was unhappy, I felt like a failure.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a block that I had to understand, like, hey, nothing's going to go perfect, but I could be relentless of being resourceful to make it valuable and not have to take that on as like, oh, I am my business. And if my business is successful that year, I'm amazing. And if it's not, I'm a failure. And this is the thing. These are money blocks because it goes back to, I want to take care of my family and not just my immediate, my extended family. And sometimes that could be a strain financially.
Yeah.
And it's just a belief system because I didn't ever want to have people go through the pain that I heard about my parents on saltine crackers. And so, you know, it's a block where now I'm being over responsible. I could overextend. I'm doing things that are beyond, you know, and what I learned is like, I'm not a savior.
Yeah. You don't have to be the one.
I just am here to serve. And then sometimes if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. I mean, it's so damn cliched and a million people have talked about it. But it's like, put on your mask before the other person. It's like, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And some people feel like they don't deserve the money or they don't deserve the wealth because of some family story, some statement that was made by a family member. I deeply care about my family loving me. I deeply care about it. And what if I have a family that has money beliefs that it's bad, wrong, evil, or that if you're wealthy, you've done something that's, you know, unscrupulous or unethical, then a person might be like, well, I don't want to be an outcast. I don't want to have them view me that way. And so that very belief system can be handed down for acceptance. And so it's complex in that situation. There's a lot of dynamics that we're talking about here. So not only is it the unspoken things that we say to ourselves that could be sabotaging our success around money, it's the things that we say that we think we're protecting ourselves as preventing us from prosperity. But it's also that, you know, what happens if you grow and other people judge you and you lose that relationship? It is so hard to lose relationships. Relationships can take a lifetime to build and a moment to destroy. And it could be a jealousy factor. It could be who knows? I mean, this is why money feels so complicated to people. There's just a lot of people out there that don't feel like they deserve money. And there's this guy, Gary Cady, wrote a book called Healthy Deserve Level. And he says, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you feel you deserve. What you feel you deserve. And so I remember like renting an apartment. It was a date night pad for my wife and I. And it was like this moment where I was like, do you want to get the nice one with the better view on the top floor? It's like, that's a deserve level thing. It's like, oh no, you know, I don't want to, I was like, no, why not? It's not that much more, but we get so much more out of it. The view that we have at our house is like, there's a certain level of consciousness someone has to have to be able to accept abundance in their life.
So it's not really whether you actually deserve it or not. It's whether you think it.
Whether you think you do.
Man.
What do you think you do?
And so what have you seen either in your life or in other people's lives? Like, what are things that they kept from their life because they felt like they didn't deserve
Things that
it?
they love, like going to great restaurants or buying great clothes or taking nice trips. They could have heard someone say it's too extravagant or risky, and so they succumb to that. Because look, you might have parents that think you're overextending yourself. And they're like, oh, don't buy that nice of a house. Can you afford it? Because afford might be more about what they view than what someone can actually handle. You know, what's inexpensive to one is expensive to another.
Yeah.
It's all context.
Yeah.
And see, no truth really exists without context being set. Had a mentor, Steve D'Annunzio, who always talked about that. He'd say, is a hammer good or bad? He said, I guess it really depends on how you use it. If you hit someone on the head, it's probably not that good. Yeah. If you build a beautiful home with it, that's great. So context has to be set. Is money good or bad? We've heard it many times. Money is a magnifying glass, right? And so people that are generous typically are going to be more generous.
Makes you more of what you already are.
Right. Makes you more of what you already are.
So if you're an a-hole, it just makes you...
Yeah, you're going to be a bigger one because, you know, and I saw this in my naive early days, and, you know, I still have many lessons to learn, I'm sure, but had this Bentley, and, you know, they parked it at this hotel, but they didn't park it up front. And I turned to my wife, I'm like, what's wrong with them? She goes, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you even care?
Yeah.
Right? So she spilled the soda in it on our way to Thanksgiving, and I got after her. She's like, I'm just going to tell your mom what you just did. I'm like, oh, no. Like, I'm still an adult, but I'm a kid. I don't want to get in trouble with mom.
So that kind of brings me into the last part of this.
Yeah.
So let's say you've worked really hard. You've overcome some of those inner dialogues that are keeping you from wealth. You still have family members who have not.
Right.
How do you handle that? Because, you know, A, it's either really hard to change them, and two, you know, in some cases, it's okay to completely distance yourself, but most cases you want to still be family with them.
Conversations. I just select the conversations.
Okay.
What I talk about, what I don't talk about.
Oh, gotcha. So
There's people that I celebrate with and people that I don't.
So you set boundary on what the conversation is about.
Yeah. If I have something good going on, I'm not going to tell someone that wants to see my demise.
Gotcha.
Or that things I've changed.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever, in a bad way. I just celebrate with the people that want to see good. Like, I'll call my friend Patrick Gentempo because he's excited for me genuinely.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. You know, he feels inspired by it.
But
I thought it was cool when I did comedy. You were there that night when we filmed the special. So many of my friends came out and supported it in the biggest way. There were people that were getting COVID tested because it was 2021 at noon to make sure that they were set. They were in their seats an hour early. They were just like so excited for me.
Yeah.
They came to my house when I was rehearsing and helped me out, you know. They were just there to collaborate. They're to celebrate. They're there to inspire. They're there to encourage. And there's those other people like, what are you, this stupid?
Yeah.
So I'm just careful. I share my vision with the people that want to expand it, not the people that want to shrink it. There's nothing like a small mind to kill a big vision.
Yeah.
And so I can have a relationship with them. It doesn't have to be a relationship that we discuss money.
Gotcha.
You know, off the top, I almost had my wife's aunt said, I'll waive some money, and, you know, Garrett and Derek will be there. That's my brother-in-law. I was like, actually, if you waive it, we'd probably be the last ones to show up. We're not just going to come and just because it happens to be money. Like, we're both pretty purpose-driven dudes.
Yeah.
You know, but just because we have wealth, there's certain misconceptions and beliefs. And, you know, we eventually addressed it. We eventually had the conversation because I had resentment and frustration around that.
Yeah.
It was kind of a throwaway statement, but it showed me kind of what she felt about me. So, and yeah, I mean, I think money's important. People that say it's not important probably don't have much of it. Who needs a bunch of unimportant stuff laying around, right? I look at it like air. When there's an abundance of it, I don't think about it much. If it's scarce, if I'm having a cash flow crunch, I'm thinking about it a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like a lot less freedom.
So what would be your final kind of, if you have someone who's struggling with that kind of family mindset?
Well, first off, when it comes to money, look at the footprints. Look at your success. Look at your failure or your limitation.
Okay.
And if it's not what you want, say, is this belief serving me?
Gotcha. So
why do I see it this way?
So I've had this belief, and so far I still haven't met, you know, the success that I'm looking for. So
if money just represents value, is there anything inherently wrong with value? Service, solving problem, adding this value to someone's life? No. But when we start having this baggage of money's bad, it's wrong, it's filthy, it's dirty, then all of a sudden we get in that money's the root of all evil frame. It's when people love money over people.
Yeah.
That's where it's evil, where it's all about the money. You know, when people say it's not personal, it's business, that's evil.
Yeah.
That's what someone says before they screw you over. It's going to feel real personal, and it's going to happen right in your business. You know, it's like I think that like money is just this great tool, and it's a great servant, but a terrible master. Mm-hmm. And so if we can master money, it doesn't have a hold and it doesn't, dictate everything in our life. If we're confused about it, it's something that we avoid. It's something that we chase. It's something that, it just depends on what that belief system is that's handed down.
Yeah.
So it's about, what are your beliefs around money? What's your beliefs around prosperity? What's your beliefs around value creation? What's your worth? What do you feel you deserve? These are the questions to ask. And if there's anything less than the best, that's a personal issue to work on.